Hi, I want to do a video with Power Panto because with the new version, you have the stagger feature. So I wanted to make a video showing that. So we're in version 5.05.83, and I will be using a rolling rail frame. And we're going to tap on pantograph. You have to set the safe area. I'm pushing the machine all the way back, and I'm at the edge of the backing and tapping on top left, and then bringing the machine all the way forward and going as far right as I can and tapping on bottom right. Okay, and now I'm going to tap on Panto mode and choose Power Panto, and you will see that there's a total width and a total height. Well, that total width is actually the safe area width, and the total height reflects the safe area height. Well, I don't want that, so I'm going to tap on the yellow ruler. And with Power Panto, that is meant for either stitching to the very edge or a little off, because it wraps the top and bottom edges and the side edges. So you're getting a partial row across the top and bottom and down the sides. So it's not something, Power Panto is not a mode you would want to use between, say, borders. Okay, so I've got my needle a little bit past the raw edge. I'm going to tap on the left side of the slanted green line. I'm going to come over here, and same, I've moved my needle past, and I'm going to tap on the right side. And I could use the black sewing machine to tap on to get the center, but I'm going to skip that for now. And I'm just going to say apply measurement, and this quilt width of 45.4, that now becomes my total width. My total height, I need to make it longer than what that safe area height is. I need it to be the height of this entire quilt, okay? So I'm going to, or actually it needs to be the height of where you want the top stitch to hit to where you want the lowest stitch to hit. So I just have a quilt thrown up here. This is a quilt that's actually already been quilted. We're in the process of moving, so I don't have time to quilt right now. But if you had a real quilt on here, you would be starting a little bit above the top edge, and then you would probably want to go a little bit lower than the edge. So your total height, you probably want to give it, let's just say if this quilt was 55, I might just want to give it 57, okay? So now we have our total width and our total height set, and we want to select a pattern. So the pattern I'm going to select comes with QCT and the continuous line, and the first one I'm going to select is this flower and leaf, and we're going to say open. So you can see this looks very stacked. So it's very nice that we can now stagger. So that's the first thing I want to show you is the stagger feature. Right now it says stagger off. And you actually have two choices of staggering, okay? So right now, do you see how all the lines across when it's off look just alike? Okay, well, when I tap this next one, then it changes the way those little rows look there. And so what it's doing is it is staggering the even number, okay? Because this little half thing right there, that second row under stagger 1, do you see how it's halved? So what it's done is it's staggered all the even rows, okay? If I tap it again, then you can see the little pictures change, and that first and third row are half the pattern that begins that row. So now the odd rows, because this is 1 and 3 that you see staggered. So so back to off, and then it doesn't matter which one you choose, whichever one you like better with your pattern. So that's just a personal thing there. Okay, so at this point, you can do different things at different times. You could start with the vertical spacing, or you could start with the sizing. You don't have to do one before the other. And the horizontal, the vast majority of the time, as in 99.9% of the time, leave horizontal on 0. It usually ends up being a bad thing to add any horizontal spacing. You can split your patterns so fast and end up with jump stitches all the way across. So My advice, just leave horizontal on 0, but the vertical spacing is kind of nice. Otherwise, let me go ahead and tap on that little magnifying glass. I'm going to tap down the line. Do you see how they're touching? So there may be patterns that you want that, or if you'd like a little bit of distance between them, then under this vertical spacing, you can tap on a little bit for however much you want. You don't want to tap on it so much that you cause a literal gutter, unless that really honestly is the look you're going for. And you may say, well, I think I would like these flowers to be bigger. So then you can tap on the sizing for pattern height. You can just start tapping on it until it's however big you want. And then when it's like you want it, you can tap on the word fit and then tap on the X, and then you're back in this screen. And those little blue lines you see come from options. That comes from this Panto Stacker Show Grid. So when that's checked and you say, okay, that's how you get those blue lines. And they're reflecting of a 1-inch square. So that's helpful in how big do you want your pattern height. And another thing that's helpful is to tap on Show Safe Area. Now you see red lines have showed up. So now I get an idea of how these flowers are going to look between the rails. And I may look at this and see, I see that I'm going to be able to do 2 rows, but those are going to be some really big flowers. So I might, at this point, after seeing the Show Safe Area, I might think, you know, let me be able to do 3 rows in a zone. And then this sew through clipped, never uncheck that, okay? Always leave sew through clip checked. It must stay checked because it will cause you some clipping errors over once you start quilting. I wish I could explain to you pattern fitting, and shame on me for not being able to. It has to do with, I thought, the way that the rows were wrapping, but playing with it, I'm just not sure. So you can tap on it, and you see how it kind of changed it a little bit. And then if I tap this, it changes a little bit, and sometimes I don't know. I haven't figured it out, but you do get a different look, so feel free to play with that. If you tap on reset, then here's what happens. When you tap reset, it goes back to kind of like, and we'll take that off. It goes back to like you started. It took my staggering away. So I'm going to tap on that one stagger again, and it went back to a different sizing. So when you set reset, know that you're going to lose your changes. If you tap on the red X, then you lose your pattern, and you'll have to redo another pattern. And then as far as the flipping, that's just flipping things different ways. Each one has 2 different choices, so you can just play with them and see what you like. You can get some really weird stuff. And then if you don't like any of it, you tap the flip and the red X. Okay, there is another pattern that I want to show you because with this one, we did add some vertical spacing, and that made it look nicer. We'll tap on fit and X. So I'm actually going to tap on the red X, and we're going to select another pattern. Actually, you know what? I want to tap on this one, because it's got something unique about it, okay? So this is another one that, yes, we want to stagger. And look at this. And I'm going to blow it up so you can see it. But it's like, well, there's already vertical spacing. There's actually more vertical spacing than I would like. So for the first time ever, I was tapping on a negative vertical amount, okay? So look, now that looks a lot better than having that gutter across there. So I wanted to show you this so that you would know, here's an example of doing vertical spacing. So I'm going to tap on fit and the X, and that takes me back to the beginning screen there. And so this looks very nice, and there again, I can grow the pattern height, and my spacing stays the same between them. So that's very nice. But there's one more I want to show you. So I'm going to tap on X and select a pattern. And this is one that came from My Creative Stitches. And it is Wayward Feathers. And again, this looks a little weird stacked on each other, so I'm going to let it stagger. Okay, so right now I have 0 vertical spacing. And look at this. It really looks nice that way. If I start giving it vertical spacing, I start seeing a gutter. And that's, and maybe you want that look. If that's the look you want, then that's fine. But it just seems like 0 spacing looks the nicest. So we're going to tap, we've tapped on fit, now we're tapping on X, and that takes us back. So I've tried to show you 3 different ways of staggering and using the spacing and playing around with the pattern fitting and just using that safe area to see what is it going to look like between my rails, and just to get that frame of reference. So at this point, you would save it, okay? And you have your blue disc up here, and you could save it there. I think it's nice to save it down here. You tap on Save Panto, and then you actually type in a name, okay? So we're going to say Stagger, just because that's what we were showing. So you say Stagger, and then you say Save. And do you want to override it? Yes, I've obviously already done that. So say yes, okay. And then I like to, at this point, tap on Read Panto just to make sure that it's in there. And there it is, Stagger and Open. So I know it's in Read Panto. Okay, when you tap on Sew in Zones, you are prompted again to save, okay? So that's a different file than this one. When you tap on Read Panto and open it, you can make further changes if you wanted to. Okay, when you tap on Sew in Zones and you save the file when prompted, that's a zone file that you can't make further changes to, and this is where you would open it. Like if you ended and started back and you would say Resume Zone Sewing, then you're able to look for, and that was where I had saved it one time before, and you're able to open it there, and it's on this screen for just a few seconds, and then it takes you directly into the Zone Manager screen. And from here, you can tap up and down or tap on the screen and pick the zone you need to resume with. One thing you have to be careful with, especially with a really big quilt, and if you're further down, is sometimes your zone scale % height gets changed. And like if it had changed it, say, to 97 or 100, I would change it back to 95. So if you get weird messages that you're like, what? Look in here and look at what is the height. Like my machine is a 21 inch, so I have a height of 95. So monitor that and be careful of it changing on you. So just to be honest, when I'm doing Power Panto, I always do Read Panto, and I don't use the Resume Zone Sewing session. So that's just me being honest there. So I hope that this has explained to you about Stagger, and you've gotten a good feel for it and the spacing and the sizing. Because it's just so easy, you know, to tap on that and just see it and use the blue grid lines and to have that Show Safe Area tap so you can get a feel for what's going to be between the rails. And of course, remember that that's your safe area, which your actual height that you can stitch in is the % less for your machine. So it's really 95% less of that, but it's just a really nice reference there. So I hope that explains the new wonderful feature of Stagger in Power Panto for you.